I'd like to say on behalf of the District Chancellor, Dr. Jose Ortiz, our Board of Trustees, and our exceptional community here in the East Bay of Northern California, I welcome you students of Laney College, College of Alameda, Berkeley City College, Merritt College. In addition, I'm very pleased to see our faculty, our classified staff and administrators, and really beautiful members of our local community here today. We're honored. We're in the presence of a distinguished leader, Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee is a senior member of Congress. As you know, she's a senior member of Congress, first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1998. She represents the 13th Congressional District of California, which encompasses Oakland, Berkeley, Albany, Alameda, Emeryville, Piedmont, and San Leandro. Congresswoman Lee is a leader in the fight against poverty and global HIV, AIDS, including co-authoring legislation that created the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, the Global Fund to fight HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria, and the position of Special Advisor for Orphans and Vulnerable Children. She is the only U.S. representative on the United Nations Development Program's Global Commission on HIV and the Law, and she is currently serving as a representative from Congress to the 68th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations. She gained national attention in 2001 as the only member of Congress to vote against the authorization to use military force in Afghanistan. Yeah. And she was an early and outspoken opponent of the Iraq War. You and I know that we could say much more about this distinguished Congresswoman, leader, sister, daughter, mother, friend, confidant, but I will not. I'm going to ask her to come forward and greet us.
Thank you so much and good morning. First, let me thank you, Dr. Webb, for that very gracious introduction, but also for hosting us here today at Laney College, such an outstanding college. It's the flagship of our Peralta system. And I have to just say, under Dr. Webb's tremendous leadership, this school has brought in millions of dollars of federal resources. It's improved its resource management and really its community partnerships. And so I'm always really excited to be here to see really our future and to see how under your leadership we really can show the rest of the state, the rest of the country, the importance of community colleges, but the importance of making sure that community colleges educate and train students for the real jobs and the experiences and the professions that exist, not just education for education's sake. So thank you again, Dr. Webb. We really appreciate you here. Thank you. And I'm so happy to be here with our acting director of the Peace Corps, Carrie Radelet. And I just have to say a couple of things first before I bring her up. The Peace Corps is an amazing organization, an amazing agency. I first learned about and met Peace Corps volunteers on my first trip to Africa. This was in 1980 to Senegal. And I went out into the villages, and there were these young American students, Peace Corps volunteers, who were working to help build fuel-efficient stoves out of clay and mud. And the interaction between the Peace Corps volunteers and the people who lived in the village And, well, members of Congress, I was actually representing Congressman Dellums on that visit. It was quite remarkable, and I said, you know, I want to see more young people experience this and be part of this Peace Corps, and I want to see more diversity in the Peace Corps also. So since 1980, if you can believe that, I've been working on a variety of fronts to try to do just that. So I'm so happy to see so many of you here today, and I hope that once you hear more about the Peace Corps, that you will really think about it, because not only does Peace Corps welcome students and young people under 55, but also those who have retired, and people who are over 55. What a wonderful retirement gig it is. And I have had the privilege, because of you and my work, to serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee as well as the Appropriations Committee now, the subcommittee on foreign operations and state operations, which really funds the Peace Corps. And so I have the privilege to visit, again, Peace Corps sites everywhere in the world. And, you know, Peace Corps volunteers are our best ambassadors. They're individuals who represent the best of America. And in fact, they dedicate their lives for others, and they sometimes under very dire and difficult circumstances. I have seen some of the really amazing sacrifices the Peace Corps volunteers are making, but they're always optimistic, and they're always happy about their work, and they always learn from their work, and they always gain as much as they are giving. And so I really hope you listen closely and think about the Peace Corps as you make some hard decisions about your life. Now, I met, excuse me, Dr. Radelet in Ethiopia this year, actually. You know, Dr. Turkey, Ethiopia, the Middle East, you know, a lot of my work, you know, 2 days here, 1 day there, you know, and we get a chance everywhere I go, though, to visit Peace Corps sites. So we met in Ethiopia. She is the actual deputy director of the Peace Corps, appointed in June 1910 and served as acting director now from September 2012 to 2013. She also has been a Peace Corps volunteer, having served in Western Samoa in the early 80s and has more than 2 decades of experience in public health focused on HIV and AIDS and maternal and child health. And as Dr. Webb said, I've worked very hard on the HIV/AIDS initiatives, orphans and vulnerable children initiatives, and so she has really spearheaded that effort out in the field. She also spearheaded a comprehensive agency assessment and reform effort to improve efficiency across the organization. She's led the implementation, and I tell you, I've seen quite a change in Peace Corps policies and processes which actually improve the health and safety of volunteers. Also, she was instrumental in establishing the new Office of Global Health and HIV and the Global Health Service Partnership, as well as led an effort to overhaul the entire volunteer recruiting and engage more volunteers in post-service public education activities. And so we are really proud of your service, of your work, and where you are leading the Peace Corps, because it's exactly where we need to go. And so please now welcome our Peace Corps director here to Laney College, and let's thank her for being here, because she traveled a long way to be here with us today to encourage you and to give you this information. Thank you again.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have to say, you probably can hear from my voice, I'm at the tail end of a cold. It actually sounds worse than it feels, but I hope you can hear me back there. Are you okay? All right. Thank you, Congresswoman Lee, for your generous support of Peace Corps, for those wonderful opening remarks. And especially, I have to say, you know, as you heard, my field is public health, and I've been working HIV/AIDS for many, many years, and you have been an incredible champion for women and children and families affected by HIV, and it is really a privilege to share the stage with you. Thank you so much. And we are also eternally grateful for your consistent support of Peace Corps on the Hill. It's a pleasure to be here with you in your home district. We have more than 30 Peace Corps volunteers currently serving from this area alone. And in fact, California is our largest Peace Corps state. Currently, we have more than 973 Californians serving around the world. So that's huge. It's one of our, it is our biggest state. And I can't think of a better place than here, right here at Laney College, to talk about the future of Peace Corps in the 21st century. Before I do that, I just want to also thank President Rep, Dr. Rep, for your gracious remarks, and especially for opening up your school to this incredible environment. You have such an incredible story. If you haven't heard her personal story, you really must. It's just so inspirational. And the school that, environment that she's fostered really brings people up so that they can learn and grow and develop personally and professionally, and it's just a real privilege to be here. One of the things that I'm told is that you speak about Laney's future in terms of not being constrained by the present, but looking forward to a future of possibility. And I really love that, because we are right now, as you heard from Congresswoman Lee, really in a period of strong reform at the Peace Corps, and we are looking forward. So I just think this is a perfect place for us all to be today. So thanks so much. Since our founding, about 250,000 Americans have served as Peace Corps volunteers in 139 countries around the world. And they tackle some of the world's most important challenges, everything from HIV/AIDS to food security, to climate change and environmental protection, to founding the next generation of young entrepreneurs. As we speak today, and you're going to hear from a Peace Corps volunteer very shortly, Peace Corps volunteers are using cell phone technology to connect farmers with markets where they can get paid the highest rate for their produce using cell phone technology. They're partnering with the private sector to hold business plan competitions for young entrepreneurs. They are combating climate change in the Philippines. They are furthering gender equality through sports in Georgia. And they're designing text messaging platforms to help high school students in Nicaragua learn about reproductive health. That's just a little example of some of the things that we're doing. All of us in this room know that the world has never been more complex or interconnected than it is today. So we today have opportunities to reach across borders, to connect with people across multiple time zones, to exchange knowledge and information in new and different ways, and most importantly, to make a difference with global impact. And you're going to see an example of that using Skype technology to connect with a volunteer in Kenya. It's so exciting. And that's what the 21st Century Peace Corps is all about. Volunteers are today using our tools and technologies to serve others and make a difference in every corner of the globe. Right now, as we speak, we have 7,200 volunteers serving in 65 countries around the world. And we are committed to ensuring that our volunteer force reflects the rich diversity that is our beautiful, multicultural nation. And I'm just so delighted at looking at this audience today. I really hope all of you will consider Peace Corps, because diversity is so very important to us. I think about volunteers like Dwayne Matthews, who I actually visited in Malawi just after we were in Ethiopia. I went straight to Malawi, and I met Dwayne, and he's an outstanding young man. He works as a community health advisor, and he reports that his most effective activity is something called Project Method, which means Malawian empowerment through hip-hop and organizational development, where he mobilizes youth throughout local villages to use the hip-hop culture of rap, breakdancing, art and graffiti, and other forms of creative expression to inform youth about healthy lifestyles, HIV/AIDS, gender empowerment, safe sex, and behavior change. Through Project Method, he's able to help youth express themselves. He's reaching out to kids that have never really interfaced well with the formal education sector, but they're finding themselves through creative expression, while also becoming change agents within their own communities. It's really beautiful. I got a chance to see it, and it's just so amazing what those young people are doing. Dwayne, in his own words, says, "One of the great opportunities I've had being an African American in the Peace Corps is being able to share with Malawians the rich history and contributions that African Americans have made to the United States. But most important to me, as an African American Peace Corps volunteer, is understanding the complexities and dynamics of my own heritage and finding a new appreciation of my race and culture, with the intention to encourage more African Americans to pursue careers on a global level." So he's issuing a challenge to all of you. Or there's Laney College graduate and Oakland resident Eva Mangota, who was born and raised actually in Nairobi, Kenya, where Teneasha is. And volunteerism was a part of her life from the very beginning. When Eva came to the United States, that commitment to service stayed with her. And when she finished college, she decided to join Peace Corps as a way of giving back to her adopted country. Eva was thrilled when she found out that she would serve as a volunteer in her birth continent. But she was also filled with apprehension because she did not know very much about Swaziland, which is a little country that she was invited to serve in. She said, "I did not know what to expect. I had done some research on the experience of non-Caucasians in the Peace Corps, but I really didn't know how an African volunteer would be received." But she reports that when she arrived, she found that some in her community were surprised that she wasn't blonde-haired and blue-eyed, like the Americans that they saw on television. But they were also thrilled, and she was thrilled to find out who she was and where she came from. And especially the women really related to her. And a place where education and economic opportunity for women and girls is so limited, she was really able to serve as a role model. And the mothers of these children really looked up to her and encouraged her to do things with their young people because they said to her, "You could be my daughter, and you can help my daughter achieve great things." And she says that that just brought her incredible pride and joy, really, at serving in her community in Swaziland. As we speak, Peace Corps volunteers from all walks of life are serving others and making a difference in communities all around the world, sometimes in ways they did not expect. For example, Dwayne did not expect to be doing hip hop. But in almost every case, unlocking potential that they themselves did not even know that they had within them. In a minute, we're going to listen to Teneasha Pierson, who will be talking about her service in Kenya, and we have some questions to ask her, and I think you'll find that she's had an amazing experience and probably has grown in ways that she would never have predicted. You should also talk with some of the Return Peace Corps volunteers who are here today, and I would like to just ask if there are Return Peace Corps volunteers here, if you would just raise your hand. Anyone here? So here we have some Return Peace Corps volunteers. So if you have a question, talk to them. Ask them what Peace Corps was really like. Ask them how Peace Corps challenged them or how it changed them. Ask them what they got out of Peace Corps. I also want to say there are some family members, I think, of people currently serving. We have Teneasha's family here and then also others. So family members, thank you for being here too. So they currently have loved ones who are serving all around the world. I hope I get to meet you at the end of this. You know, Peace Corps service is not for everyone. It really isn't. It's tough. It's tough. But for those who are eager to step out of their comfort zone, who want to work shoulder to shoulder with people from all different walks of life, who want to become part of something that's far greater than themselves, then Peace Corps is definitely for you, and you ought to consider it. But what's also true that one of the most lasting aspects of Peace Corps is the impact it has on the volunteers itself. Even while volunteers are serving their host community, they are investing in their own future. Volunteers receive very rigorous language and cross-cultural and technical training. They work hands-on, as I said earlier, to tackle some of the world's most important issues, like climate change, infectious diseases, hunger, gender equality. And in the process of helping a village adopt solar energy or educating vulnerable youth about HIV/AIDS, volunteers are not just making a difference on the ground, they are learning to communicate across cultural divides, to evaluate obstacles and develop sustainable solutions, and to innovate and deploy technology, and to see the world not as it is or how it has always been, but how it has the potential to become. It's a win-win opportunity for volunteers and communities alike. Today, Peace Corps is not just a chance to make a difference in some of the most remote corners of the globe. It's also a training ground like no other to launch a career, a 21st century career, or to get into a great graduate school. It's an opportunity to develop some of the most sought after skills and competencies that are needed in our global market today, whether it's cultural competency, another language, technical know-how, or problem solving in complex environments. Employers and graduate schools love Peace Corps. It's really a boost. It's a pathway to unlocking potential that you may never even realize you have, and it's an opportunity to make an impact in ways that you would never have predicted. And so I'm going to end in a minute, but before I do that, I just want to end with a story. It's one of my favorite stories. I had the opportunity about, well, a little more, almost 2 years ago now, to meet with the president of Guinea, Alpha Condé. And he was invited by President Obama to come and meet with him in the White House as a celebration of democracy in West Africa. They invited 4 recently democratically elected presidents to come to the United States. And so he asked if he could come have a meeting with us. Actually, he invited us to his hotel suite. So my colleagues and I went over there on the appointed day, and we had what is always a very formal exchange where we spoke about our gratitude for the hospitality that his countrymen had provided to our volunteers over the last 40 years. And he spoke of how our volunteers had helped his country. And then we exchanged some gifts. And I was pretty much convinced that that was the end of the meeting, because he actually had a meeting with President Obama in less than an hour. So I was pretty mindful of that fact. And he had to get through White House security. So I thought he needed to get on his way. So I leapt to my feet at this point, and he's still on the couch, sitting here next to me. And he looked up at me, and he grabbed my hand by the elbow, and he said, "Please, now that we've dispensed with the formalities, I want to speak to you from my heart." So I sat down, and this is what he said. He said, "When I was a young boy, I lived in a small village in central Guinea. And there was a Peace Corps volunteer who lived in the hut next to me. And his name was Joe, and he was an agroforestry volunteer. He worked with the farmers during the day. But every night, he opened up his home to any student who wanted homework help. And I used to go there almost every night. And he helped me with my English, he helped me with my French, my math, and my science. He is the first person I can ever remember who believed that I had a future outside the boundaries of my village. And I worked really hard with him. And at the end of 2 years, it was time for me to take my university entrance exam. It was really the school leaving exam. He said, and I passed. I was one of 4 students in my entire country that passed that year. And I know that I wouldn't have passed if it weren't for his homework help, because he really grilled me. He was tough. And so then I went on to college, and Joe helped me throughout my college career. He taught me how to shop in an American supermarket, and he taught me how to, just navigate life, how to buy books at a bookstore, and how to live in an American apartment. All the things that my community helped him with when he moved to Guinea. And he is a lifelong friend to this day, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I would not be president today if it were not for him and the love and support and encouragement he gave me. But even more important than the impact of my volunteer on my life is the impact of your volunteers on the lives of my people. Over the last 6 months, I have been campaigning for presidency, and I have visited over 300 villages in my country. I went to villages way out east, which is near the corners of Sierra Leone and Liberia. My own campaign staff didn't want to go out there, but there were Peace Corps volunteers living there. I went way up north, where it's very dry and there's not much variation in diet. It doesn't rain for 10 months out of the year. To this day, I don't have a prefect, which is like a district mayor kind of thing, or district leader. He said, I still don't have government officials up there, but there are Peace Corps volunteers there. And then I go to the central part of my country, where there's a big road, and actually international NGOs, some of them are American, they come there, and they do good work. They maybe build a school, or they bring food aid, or they do trainings, and the work is great that they do. But you know what? At the end of the day, the foreigners, they get in the car and they drive back to Conakry. And the volunteers, they stay. By your presence, you show us that the United States cares about my people, that my country, my small country, Guinea, West Africa, is so important to your people that you're willing to leave your sons and your daughters, your most precious asset, your mothers, your fathers, are willing to leave everything that is important to them, everything that they know, to come and live among us as one, to learn our language, even though some of our languages aren't even written down, to eat our food, even though it makes your belly sick sometimes, to work on our priorities, not yours, and to learn about our culture. It's a tremendous privilege for our people to be able to welcome your volunteers as family. And because we're family, because we trust each other, we listen to each other and we work on development projects that matter most and are going to have the best impact. And you give us a hand up and not a handout, and that makes all the difference. I love this story, and I just think it captures so well the spirit of the Peace Corps, and I tell this story all the time. So I apologize to anyone who's heard the story before, but I just really feel that it captures the essence of Peace Corps and the incredible impact that a single volunteer can have. I'm pretty sure Joe had no idea that when he was offering homework help, that one of his students would grow up to be only the second democratically elected president of Guinea, a country that looks to the United States for guidance, that shares our values, has very positive perceptions of the United States, and wants to engage as a good global partner. And that is very good for our country as well. I hear the story in every single country I visit. And I hear it in Washington, D.C., and here in Oakland as well. I mean, sometimes it's a taxi driver. Often it's a taxi driver. Often it's an Ethiopian taxi driver in Washington. But, you know, sometimes it's a teacher or a mayor or a health worker or a mom. And sometimes it's 40 years since that person last saw their Peace Corps volunteer, and they can tell you everything about them. And the irony of this is that most Peace Corps volunteers tell you, and you heard this from Congresswoman Lee, that they got more than they gave, that the gift of love and support from their communities was greater than they were able to give. And I think that is the magic, the synergy of Peace Corps, that the whole is truly greater than the sum of its parts. So, I would like to say to all of you, I want to encourage you to spend a few years doing something that brings you face to face with the poor and the vulnerable in this country or in the developing world. Now, I personally hope you'll choose Peace Corps because we really need globally competent Americans, but also because I think it's a transformative experience that is really unique in all this world. And there's a lot of work to do in the countries where we serve. But if international service is not your thing, AmeriCorps or Vista or any other local service opportunity is also a fantastic way to go. Service will change your life, and it will build your skills and your experience and open doors in ways that are unimaginable to you now. Life is so rich when you're working to make a difference in the lives of others. So I hope you'll give that some thought. And now I would like to present, so that's it. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I'm going to first give the gift to Congresswoman Lee because you have to leave now. So you can come out here and then you can go. So this is actually a Peace Corps, beautiful Peace Corps pin. This is for Dr. Webb. You get the pin. It's easier to travel with. So this is a beautiful Peace Corps pin that I hope that you'll, yeah, it's like mine, only actually nicer. Is it open there?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a Peace Corps international calendar that has, every day has a holiday from some country in the world and some phenomenal photos. So thank you so much for all your incredible support.
That is such a great speech.
Thanks so much for organizing this. Yeah, I'll see you next. Yeah. And Dr. Webb, I would like to present you with this beautiful, it's a Norman Rockwell print of Peace Corps. He did a series of Peace Corps drawings. And I hope that you can hang it here in this school so that it will encourage other people. I'd like to show it to you so you can see it. Here, you want to pull?
Yes.
There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
gorgeous. Oh my goodness, beautiful.
So this is a Norman Rockwell print, and I hope it will encourage students to consider a Peace Corps here at Laney College. And I also give you a calendar,
Yes.
Peace Corps calendar.
Thank you so much.
It's every year.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm so proud and happy to introduce Teneasha, who's been waiting patiently for us.
When I was thinking about what to say, I thought what you might want to hear from me is what led me to apply to become a Peace Corps volunteer. What do I do as a Peace Corps volunteer? And how do I think this experience will help me in the future? So, right after undergrad, I worked for an intellectual property law firm. I thought that I wanted to go to law school after having a really cool experience in a business law class. So I worked for an intellectual property law firm for 4.5 years and realized that it was not for me. So one day I made a list to try to see what I wanted to be incorporated in my next opportunity. And it was really important for me to have an opportunity that was challenging. I wanted to learn a culture in a way that I couldn't with just visiting a country for 2 to 3 weeks. I wanted to be involved in a new field. I wanted to see the impact of my work. And after looking at that list, Peace Corps was a perfect fit. But I think along the way, seeds of Peace Corps were planted. I had a professor that I looked up to and a friend that I admire who were both RPCVs. And I think in addition to my whole list of things that I wanted to accomplish, I also wanted to be a little bit more like them. So I applied and here I am. Now, what I do as a Peace Corps volunteer, after your 3 months of training, when I was sworn in as a volunteer, my first thing that I did at site was help build a fish pond, which was crazy, but so exciting. And also learn the whole process of fish farming. Within the first 3 months of my service, outside of the work that I was doing with fish farming, I helped distribute malaria nets and go home to home in communities to see if community members were using their nets, how they were affected by malaria, the education that they knew, and to try to correct some of the myths. I taught over 400 students. I joined the planning committee for my town's World AIDS Day, and all that was in my first 3 months.
Wow.
And I'm saying that because when you're considering your next, thank you. I'm saying that because when you consider your next step, when you consider the opportunities of entry-level positions after undergrad, the amount that I learned in Peace Corps in the first 3 months far exceeded, I think, what I learned in 4.5 years working at the law firm. Like, it was so incredible to be able to get my hands involved in so many different projects. The skills you build are just much more accelerated. As they mentioned, one of my current responsibilities is a volunteer coordinator for Stomp Out Malaria. Stomp Out Malaria is a continent-wide initiative that was started by a Peace Corps volunteer in Senegal. Malaria is still a disease that's claiming a lot of lives on this continent. In a year, there's about over 650,000 people are dying from malaria. 90% of that is happening in Africa. 86% of that is children. And it was an opportunity that I'm so excited that I get to work on because it's a need and people are dying, and to be able to help to keep community members healthy and to keep children alive is something that I can't really explain to you. And to also encourage the other volunteers to participate in malaria prevention projects so that we have a widespread impact on this disease. It's pretty incredible. So I think I've explained a little bit about what I do, and I've probably done a good job of making myself sound completely selfless. But,
And you are.
But I will say that as much as I love the opportunity to make an impact in my community, I did consider this opportunity because I thought it would help build some skills for my future career path. So when you're looking at careers, or if you go now and you look at open positions, um, they always want like a series of technical skills, but then a list of social skills. And the social skills that you find, you'll see them repeated over and over in so many positions and so many fields. Things like, are you able to work on a diverse team? Are you able to lead? Are you a self-starter? Can you be self-directed? Are you able to overcome obstacles? Are you a problem solver? Like all these things you'll see over and over and over again, and these are the skills that Peace Corps will help you master if you put in the effort. I don't think you can find a more diverse team than a group of Peace Corps volunteers, let alone the community members that we work with on a daily basis. For education volunteers, so there's many sectors that Peace Corps works in. There's education, there's health, there's business, there's agriculture, etc. And education is pretty much like a schedule and a little bit more regimented, but the rest of them, a lot of what you do is what you create for yourself. So when you go to your site, it's up on you to go out and to meet community members and to come up with projects and to try to determine the needs of the community and how to best use the resources that are available in that community. Because the difference between Peace Corps and other development agencies is that our development strategy is providing skilled labor. It's us to come and to share our experience and to show the community members that they are able to solve their own problems with the resources available if they just apply them differently, if we just can show them the skills of how to use it properly. So you come there and you are a behavior change agent. And all these things will help you in your careers to come. I think that's pretty, I want to start concluding. Peace Corps has been an amazing decision, maybe one of the best decisions that I've made in my life. Peace Corps is definitely not for everyone, but it is for the people who have the skill and desire to want to learn about other cultures and to see other parts of the world. It's for those people who want to work and see the impact that they are making. It's perfect for those people who like to get their hands dirty. It's perfect for the people who have future goals of creating policy and working higher up in management, because you're able to know what's on the ground. You know how your policy is going to affect those that are on the ground. It's been completely awesome being here with you guys today, and I am looking forward to the questions.
Wonderful. Well, Miss Teneasha, you are awesome. We are very proud of you. And I am certain that your aunt and uncle in the audience are also very proud of you, but they know you. And we're just getting to know you.
Yeah.
And you said some things that were rather insightful. And that is, this experience for you is quite powerful. And that you see yourself and others see themselves as behavior change agents. I want to ask a question, and as others in the audience have questions, please just pass your green card to your right so that our Peace Corps volunteers and other volunteers from the Congresswoman's office, et cetera, can capture those cards and bring them to me. So there's a number of questions. The first one is, why is Peace Corps a good investment for America? And you've already begun to answer that, but could you speak to that question right now and add whatever you'd like to add? Why is Peace Corps a good investment for America?
Absolutely. America is a melting pot. America is a country that's comprised of people all over the world. To be able to interact and be successful in America, it's good to have an idea of those cultures. Not everybody has the desire to go abroad. the people who do have the desire to go abroad, the interest in culture, I think there's a lot of responsibility on us to go out and actually see and explore and report back. Peace Corps has 3 goals, and the second goal is to present America to people of other cultures in other countries. And the third goal is to present those countries to people in America. That education is so important because a lot of people have not accurate ideas of the world and of the people of the world. And so to be able to go back and to share that information is something that will help push America forward. It will help push our relations with other cultures forward. It's also like all those testimonies we've heard of Americans changing lives. It kind of builds a positive image of America. And we need that. And we need to know, we need Americans to know the positive images of some of these in-need communities. Sometimes what you see are only those infomercials that's asking you to assist those community in need. And it's important to know that there are people on this continent that are happy, that are healthy, that are clean, that are excited about America and Americans, that participate in a democratic process, that have educational goals. Like, all these things are so important.
Wonderful. This is a question that was directed specifically at our Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who regrets she had to leave because she's trying to get to many places in our community so that many folks get to hear her and provide her with input. But this question I want to pose to both you and our director. With so much poverty in Oakland, why should the writer conveys, why should I care about other countries? That's a very important question.
You want me to start?
Sure.
I mean, I think that is an important question, and there are certainly opportunities to serve right here in your community. I think that's so important. But I also think that from a global perspective and a national perspective, in order for our country to really be able to navigate in this increasingly global and interconnected and complex world, we really need to have Americans who understand other languages, can communicate cross-culturally, can negotiate with people who have very different perspectives from ours, and find commonality with our own. You only have to look at any newspaper above the fold to see how something in some other part of the world has a direct impact in our country right here. And so we need Americans who can relate well to other countries, because we are not alone in the world anymore. And
Yes.
so I really firmly believe that for our own national interest, we need to be concerned about people in other countries. I think there's also something to be said about, a commitment to working with others as part of a global body, as part of the United Nations. I mean, I think there are many Americans who believe that we have some moral responsibility to help others. But I also think that it's very much in our own strategic interest to help others as well.
Now,
And then the other thing is, and I think Teneasha really
Yes.
spoke to this well, is the fact that we have an increasingly multicultural nation ourselves. And what we're finding is that Return Peace Corps volunteers are getting jobs with recent arrival communities. So some of the communities where they served back home. So let me just give an example. We have Return Peace Corps volunteers who served in El Salvador, for example, that are working with Salvadoran communities here in the United States. And because they've been in their home communities, they understand the language and culture, they're really able to help that community make the transition to life in America. And these skills are very, very important, not only for our new arrivals, but really for, to ensure that the social fabric of our country stays intact and positive and welcoming. So I think it's important not only for our own national interest, but even to ensure that our increasingly multicultural nation remains strong and open and welcoming and affirming.
Teneasha, would you like to add, especially given that you're from Oakland?
Absolutely. I think that it is to our detriment to make service like this, them and us. Serve like we're one world, and we need to come and help each other. Like, to whom much is given, much is required. There are times where you can go abroad and learn skills that will make you more effective in your service in your own city. To learn something like how to create programs with very limited resources. That's something that I've learned in Kenya. That's something that will absolutely help Oakland. So it's not one of those things where it's like you have to choose either or. If you have the opportunity to serve, serve wherever you can, because it will all help like the global world in the end.
I'm going to ask these two questions of you, Teneasha. What did you wish you knew before you signed up? Perhaps information, some exposure to particular training, and then related somewhat. Is there, in terms of your experience there, is there ever a concern about your safety? Are you protected while there? If you fall ill, are there resources to get you help immediately?
Well, the first question of what I wish I knew, Peace Corps does an amazing job of giving you training. I wish that I spent some more time learning the language ahead of time, just because the more you know the language, the more effective you can be. And it shows the community that you're making effort to be a part of that community rather than having them shift and accommodate you. So I wish I got a leg up on that. Other than that, I wish I knew that everyone's experience is different. You'll get a lot of information from return Peace Corps volunteers, and people have fantastic stories, but you need to go in with the idea that you're going to create this experience for yourself. It can't be based solely off of the testimonies of other volunteers. Can you repeat the second part of the question? Safety?
Your safety. Are you concerned about your safety and your physical well-being? Are there places for you to go, or resources if you get ill?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel extremely safe. I think any resident of Oakland has some street smarts and some ability to keep yourself safe. And all of that comes in handy when you are abroad. Peace Corps' responsibility is to keep us safe. So there's tons of systems in place so that we're able to communicate quickly and get help quickly if we're ever in a tight spot. Kenya is like an amazing country, but if you've seen the news, we've had some security issues, but Peace Corps does an amazing job of making sure we're in places that they can get to us quickly. We all have cell phones. Most of us have pretty reliable internet to check email. So we can get messages, we can send and receive messages pretty quickly. So as long as you're following the rules that Peace Corps sets for you, you should be pretty safe. As far as health, there's amazing health facilities in Kenya. It's one of those countries that's been developed pretty well, so you can get nearly anything that you need right here. I was actually here because I had a medical appointment. They fixed my teeth. I had a cavity, so it's been great.
What about housing overseas? Where do Peace Corps volunteers live?
You live out in remote villages. The whole point is to get the experience that's in those hard to reach areas that are sometimes missed by other organizations. But with that said, there are standards for your home. You can't live in something that's nearly falling apart. My house is on a family compound, which is not so common for Peace Corps Kenya, but is amazing because I have a family that's looking out for me. I have a separate house that's on their compound, and it's cement, it's 2 rooms, so it's kind of like having a studio apartment. I have my bedroom, and then I have my everything room, which is like my kitchen and my living room, and it's enough space. There's some volunteers that have amazing houses. So there's people who have running water. I have electricity, but not running water. But there's some volunteers that have running water and electricity. It's okay. You learn how to live on the bare necessities.
So the next question I'm going to pose to our director. Do I have to go through the training prior to volunteer for the Peace Corps?
Yeah, in fact, the training is awesome. You should want to go through the training because we teach more than 200 different languages. We have very solid cross-cultural training, and we teach you the technical skills that you need to do your job in your country. It's actually a fabulous training, and I would say is one of the best benefits of Peace Corps. So, yeah, the answer is yes. You absolutely have to because that's what gives you the tools you need to be able to succeed. And Teneasha referred to this. You know, we really train our volunteers to live in remote communities, and so learning the language and understanding the culture and being able to do something that helps that community is really essential for their success as a volunteer. We are increasingly, with the tools and technologies that are available to us now, doing some pre-departure online training. So that also is great, you know, in terms of skills development. And then, of course, as we also mentioned, the health and the safety, that is a significant part of our training as well, as we train volunteers how to keep themselves healthy in their environments, how to assess the situation and assess risk, how to look out for each other, how to take care of each other, and what to do in the event of an emergency. So the training is absolutely essential. You can't go without that.
So here's an interesting question. Because neither of you are at Laney, nor do you know about the course offerings at Laney or the programs, but I'm going to have an open discussion with the two of you. This question is, for a Laney student, what classes would be especially that useful as preparation for the Peace Corps? So let me just share in general, for those of you here, that Laney offers classic comprehensive offerings for students who want to transfer to a four-year accredited college or university in the country or outside of the country. And likewise, a whole series of career and technical education programs for those who would like to efficiently move into a career and move up the ladder and be successful. So life-sustaining career opportunities through our many career and technical programs. And in those transfer-oriented offerings and the career and technical programs, there are complements because students have to take a host of courses that traditionally are required for transfer also to meet the requirements for their career and technical education programs. So someone who wants to pursue a job may end up going on to a four-year prior to entering that profession, but then the option is available to go straight into careers. With that said, what we offer is the comprehensive array, and the students know this in here: English, math, English as a second language, the foreign languages of Spanish, of Japanese, and on, humanities, philosophy, the biological, the physical sciences, and of course, the entire construction trades, including welding, carpentry, I can go on, energy efficiency, manufacturing education, bio manufacturing, industrial manufacturing, I can go on. The powerful thing about what we offer here at Laney College is that we offer the fundamentals to ensure one has the capacity to demonstrate capacity to effectively pursue a myriad of career options that could prepare one very successfully for service in the Peace Corps. I humbly say, but given that we're a traditional, comprehensive institution, non-traditional in that we've got unique faculty, many of whom have gone into the Peace Corps. I think of Lisa Cook, one of our wonderful ESL instructors who's also our Faculty Senate Vice President. I think of Rick Robinson, who's another wonderful faculty member in our ESL department. I think of Annie Agard in ESL. You get my sense, and others I don't even know about at this college, perhaps in political science, perhaps in sociology, et cetera, who understood that their fundamental education experiences that led them to a particular area would best prepare them to go abroad. Speak to that. I want you initially, Teneasha, you've already spoken to it a little bit, but add to that a little bit.
Okay, absolutely. I think Peace Corps does an amazing job of assessing your skills and placing you in a sector where those skills will be made of use. So in answering which courses you should take, I guess my question back to you is, what would you like to do? If you're interested in health, then take some science courses, health courses, and show that you have some knowledge in those areas. If you're interested in engineering, if you're interested in business, then take those required courses. As Dr. West said, there's many RPCVs who are now in the ESL program or teaching ESL now. And as I mentioned, I wish I got a jump up on language. So if you're interested in living abroad, try to start learning the language of those countries that you're interested in. If you want to work in South America, then start learning Spanish. If you want to work in West Africa or in parts of Europe, then maybe French or Portuguese could be the language that you choose. But I think that you should take courses in the career that you want to pursue, and that I promise that Peace Corps will make good use of those skills.
I think Teneasha gave an excellent answer. The only thing I would also say is that we're really looking for people who are motivated to serve. So if you do any kind of community service as part of your college experience or even extracurricular, we're always going to be looking at that because Peace Corps is really about service. So we love to see people who have a history of service. Even, it doesn't have to be a long, extensive career of service, but just demonstrate that you're interested in helping others because that will help you to really shine in Peace Corps.
I'm going to ask you both to answer this because you're in the Peace Corps and you've been in the Peace Corps, and I want you to talk about the legacy also. What impact has the Peace Corps had on your family members? Your service had on your family in particular?
I'm laughing because I feel like my aunt and uncle should answer this question. Like I mentioned before, it's very important. It's a responsibility for those who have an interest in culture and an interest in travel to go out and do it so that you can share that information with the people at home. I think my experience has helped broaden the ideas of my family and life abroad and the needs abroad and the cool things that we get to see and do. I think it's opened their mind to life abroad. I know my aunt and uncle and other relatives are sharing my experience with my younger cousins and with our neighbors and with the younger kids that go to our church. And now they are considering a life abroad where that was different prior to my Peace Corps experience. So it's just kind of show how cool it is to go out and really experience these cultures and that you can do it and still be safe and healthy, which was a major concern for my family.
Understood. Wonderful.
That was great. First, I'd like to just say how important family support is to our volunteers, too. It's really important that volunteers feel the love and support of their family members. It's why I'm so grateful to have Teneasha's aunt here. I come from a 4-generation Peace Corps family, so I'm a little bit unusual in that regard. 4 generations, starting with my aunt, who served as a volunteer in Turkey in the early 60s. And then my grandparents actually went, after they retired at age 70, they served in Malaysia. And then my husband and I served, and my nephew completed his service in 2009. So we kind of say that Peace Corps is in our DNA.